Alright, welcome back, good people. On this video, I'm going to talk about fear. What is fear? You know, we all have a fear of something, right? A lot of us are very familiar with what we have a fear of, what we're afraid of, right? Some are not so much, right? A lot of times you haven't been introduced to something and maybe you don't know what it is. Like say, you go to a foreign country, right? And you see an animal that you hadn't seen before. You don't know whether to fear it or not because you don't know, right? So you handle it with caution, right? You ask people, hey, what will that do? Will they bite you, or is that poisonous? Or, you know, you want to get the understanding about it, right? Now, I was told a long time ago that a baby only fears two things. They fear falling and they fear loud noises. Everything else is taught. They're taught to fear. So if you're taught or you live in an environment where you constantly in fear of your surroundings, then your walk through life will be different than many other people's, right? So I'm going to read you a quick one page about fear and give you a little inside look at how other people see fear. It says, what is fear? An unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. Fear is an emotional response induced by a perceived threat, which causes a change in brain and organ functions as well as in behavior. Fear can lead us to hide, to run away, or to freeze in our tracks. Fear may arise from a confrontation or from avoiding a threat, or it may come in the form of a discovery. Why do people fear? What about phobias? Well, for phobias, to that person with the phobia, the danger feels real because the fear is so very strong. Phobias cause people to worry about, dread, feel upset by, and avoid the things or situations they fear because the physical sensations of fear can be so intense. Now, why do we feel fear? Fear induces chemicals such as adrenaline and stress hormone cortisol to be released into the bloodstream, which triggers a fight or flight response that causes us to react to the situation appropriately. So if the situation requires you to run, that is what you do, right? You run. You don't just stand there and wait for whatever's going to happen to happen. No. You make a move. Next, what is emotional fear? Emotional fear includes such emotions as acute stress reaction, anger, angst, anxiety, fright, horror, joy, panic, and sadness. Fear is closely related to, but should be distinguished from, the emotion anxiety, which occurs as the result of threats that are perceived to be uncontrollable or unavoidable. In humans and animals, fear is modulated by the process of cognition and learning, as I told you about the babies, right? Thus, fear is judged as rational or appropriate and irrational or inappropriate. And irrational fear is called a phobia. Although many fears are learned, the capacity to fear is part of human nature. Many studies have found that certain fears are much more common than others. In an estimate of what people fear the most, author Bill Tanzer, T-A-N-C-E-R, analyzed the most frequent online queries that involve the phrase fear of. Following the assumption that people tend to seek information on the issues that concern them most, this top 10 list of fears established in 2008 consisted of flying, heights, clowns, intimacy, death, rejection, people, snakes, failure, and driving. Now, according to a survey, some of the most common fears are demons and ghosts, the existence of evil powers, cockroaches, spiders, snakes, heights, water, enclosed spaces, tunnels, bridges, needles, social rejection, failure, examinations, and public speaking. Now that's a lot of failure. I mean, that's a lot of fear, right? A lot of people. There are people who are afraid of each one of those. Not very many are afraid of all of those, but there are people who are afraid of different things. So you got to be mindful when you just blow something off like, oh, that's nothing to that, because to some people it's really serious, right? Continuing on, it says death anxiety is multidimensional. It covers fears related to one's own deaths, the death of others, fear of the unknown after death, fear of obliteration, and fear of the dying process, which includes fear of a slow death and a painful death. Now, if you are one of those people who fear death, then like many of us, right? And it's only because we don't really know anything about it, right? Nobody's come back and say, well, look, it's going to be all right. Know that hadn't happened. But when that does, you'll know. You'll be the first to know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little segment. I'm trying to keep these videos below 10 minutes because, like I said, I got like 20 videos left, starting with this first video this week. So, I want to just try to be able to put them all in a nice, neat package and share them with other audiences later on, right? I'm getting ready to create an online course. Don't miss out on that, because if this is what you want to do, if you want to get into this type of world, this business world, this 21st century entrepreneur type situation where you pretty much at home. You don't have to go any place, and you can make really nice money. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes you to set up systems and to work those systems, right? All right, SpeakerLarry.com.